Hello everyone. Been rubbing this gun stock down now. Don't know how well you can see it, but could probably do with another half an hour's rubbing down. But the lacquer, if you watched it my previous video, was very bad in places, especially around here. It was all lumpy. There's the odd slight scratch mark in there, the odd random, I don't know how well you can see this or if you can see it at all, but under the back of where the trigger is, there's some marking in the wood. It's only very slight, but I've rubbed that stupidly for, well, the whole gun, probably for 2 hours. I've tried to avoid where I can the checkering, both sides. I don't want to rub by that. It's nice and grippy and nice, so hopefully it will still look okay despite not rubbing that down too well. Maybe I could have done with a, I don't know, something like a wire brush, I'm not sure. But it was in a fair old bad state. It was very shiny, but very uneven. It was one of the poorest gun stocks I've ever seen. So I've got the True Oil, which I'm going to open. I think I paid £12.99 UK, or we'll call it £13 for the True Oil. Small bottle, what is it, 3 fluid ounces, 90 millilitres. So I'll open that in a moment, and the first coat I'm not going to rub on with my fingers because I'm going to have white spirit. White spirit for paint thinning, brush and general cleaning purposes, so just normal white spirit. I'll give it a 2-to-1 mix. I shall use this glass container, and I shall use some of this kitchen paper to rub it on with, but that's just the first coat. Now I'll probably let that dry, do another coat, let that dry, and then rub it down, and then start putting the neat oil. We'll call it oil because it's called True Oil, but what it contains I've not bothered to read, but that's the plan of action. So today I'm just going to give it one coat, and then my next video give it another coat, and then the next video I'll make them short videos so you can see it progress. We'll see how it looks as we go. I might just rub it all down again if it's not going to plan, because this is as much the outcome of this is going to be as much of a surprise to me as it is to you, because I've never done it before at my tender age of 57. So let's see how we go. I don't want you to get this off very easy, I don't know. And I did shake it up. What's that? Oh, let's put a little tiny bit in here. We don't need much apparently. That's probably too much maybe, I'm not sure, but we'll start with that much. It's probably going to be far too much for one gun stock, for one coat. That will do, I think. Got it all over my hands, which is what I was trying to avoid. Never mind. Right, I'll reposition the camera. Now there should be ample. Right. Let's swirl this around a little bit. You can hear a noise, the dog's in the background. Apparently a little bit goes a long way, so I believe. There we go. See what happens. I will be using my fingers, as many people seem to when I haven't got the white spirit in there. I don't want it irritating my hands. I won't be too fussy. Hopefully it will soak deeply into the wood, on the basis that that the wood is very porous. Hopefully it will soak in nicely. That's the plan. But as I say, I do expect to rub it down again to get rid of the fine scratches. I have seen somebody put this on, not bother to actually wait for it to dry, and rub it down while it's still wet to try and fill the little the pores and the grains and the various places in the wood. But it should look better than it did, even if I don't do a fantastic job. And like I say, allegedly a little bit goes a long way, but we'll see. We will see. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use, down there, I'm actually going to use the trigger guard to hold it with in a moment. It's much better than using varnish, of my experience of life. Right. It's a bit awkward this is, but I'm sure we'll do it. I'll give it overnight to dry. Probably could have done with just a little bit more. The end pieces here were the worst part of the gun. These two end parts here, they were terrible, and they're still not even now they're not perfect. Well, that's pretty much all of it. You can see a few well, it seems that everywhere I've done everywhere that I rubbed down. I've done the complete lot, and even dropping that on the floor. Luckily it hasn't landed on the damp part. If I was painting that, it'd be ruined, wouldn't it? So now we have the first coat. Not sure how well you're picking this up. I've got enough lights in here to light a football stadium up, but that's his first coat. Everywhere is evenly coated. It went on easy. It's a piece of cake really. Oh, look at that look. There's a drippy line going there. Well, that'll do for the first attempt, and as I say, I will be very lightly rubbing it down at least, I don't know, at least once, that's for sure. Not much of a sheen on it, or a shine, but we didn't intend to get a shine on the first coat, did we? After you've built a few layers up, that it will start to shine. So now I've got to try and leave it in a position where air can get to it to dry. Leave it for a few hours, and then I'll give it another coat, the same as this one I think, with some white spirit in it. Let it soak in a bit more, and then I'll give it just the neat stuff, and then I'll rub it with a wire wool. Right, Hopefully you can see that okay. Job so far. I'll stand that up, prop it up somewhere in here to dry, like such, and then ready for the next one. Take care everyone, thanks for looking. Boo, part 2. Just to recap on my video I did roughly 24 hours ago. For anybody that's not followed my videos or my channel at all, I'll just recap you. This gun stock here is from a Edgar Brothers caliber .22 rifle that I got in a deal. The finish on the stock was the worst finish, well, the worst stock I've ever seen in my entire life. It was all uneven, it was on very thick. I don't know if it was painted or dipped or what, and it had big ridges down here. So seeing as the paint work on the actual metal work, the blacking or bluing, whichever you call it, was in fairly reasonable condition, I decided to rub it down and use True Oil. So this is part 2. The last video I did, well, the previous video to this one, was I got a glass bowl and I mixed roughly a 2 to 1, 2 parts white spirit, normal white spirit, to 1 part True Oil. I do plan to use my fingers to put it on, because apparently the heat, the warmth of your fingers thins it, makes it nice and thin and supple. It's not like paint to use. I've never used the stuff before, I've never done this process before, but it's nothing like paint, it's much more forgiving. So because the wood is porous when you've rubbed it down, use the True Oil mixed with white spirit to hopefully soak in and fill the little tiny minute holes and crevices and etc. So today I'm going to give it another coat, 1 to 1 mix today, roughly. I'll say this is not rocket science, it's all rough. 1 part, equal amounts True Oil to the white spirit, putting it on with some kitchen paper, kitchen towel. You go on a roll. It seems to go on quite well. And then after that I'll give it 24 hours to dry, and then I'll get some I've got some wire wool 00 grade. I'm going to use a pair of thin gloves when I rub it down, just to buff it a little bit. I'm not bothered if it has a high shine or not, as long as it goes on even and the gun feels smooth when you're holding it, which it does at the moment. It feels lovely and smooth. There's some minute scratches that I've left with the paper. It probably could do with a bit more sanding, if I'm honest. If you look closely, there's the odd little scratch the sandpaper's left, because I started off I think with 120, but it was that ripply at the top end of the gun up here. The varnish it was that uneven and thick. It was really thick. I started with 120 and I seemed to be going nowhere, so I went straight to 60 grade sandpaper, and then I give it a good doing with 60, and then I moved on to 100, 120, and then I give it 4 sessions, 4 half-an-hour sessions in total, so I guess it took 2 hours. But I think a normal gun stock wouldn't take that long, because this was on really thick, lovely and shiny, but just terrible to look at. So let's go. I'll fast forward as much as I can of this video, because it's pretty boring stuff. So here we go. That's the true oil. I've shook that up. A bit of white spirit in there. Probably a bit too much, but never mind. It'll evaporate anyway. I've put too much in. Use a tie clip to steer it all round. It's like watching Blue Peter from years ago when I was a kid. Well, that's all very well and truly stirred up. Like I say, it's probably a 3-to-1 that is, because I've put too much white spirit in, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Make a nice sort of pad, and we'll whale it on. Start from the top piece where it's awkward. It's going to look nice and shiny because and apparently, well, I think it does. I was going to say a little goes a long way, but saying that, this is very thin. It's almost like water, this stuff, because I've put too much I've most definitely put too much white spirit in it. But as I say, I think the excess of the white spirit will evaporate anyway, and possibly help it soak into the wood. I don't know how well you can see this. I've set the camera to 4K. I don't normally film in 4K, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully you may see more detail. Now you can't see what I'm doing very well this way, so I'll try and twist that at the moment. And I've got a silly light bulb. I've got about 1, 2, 3, 4 lights, and it still doesn't look that bright in here. It's an aeroplane flying over. As I say, the finish at the moment is doesn't matter too much, because it's going to be buffed up with wire wool, which is what the instructions on the bottle tell you to do. So I've watched a few of other people's videos who do this, and they all have slightly different ways of doing it. Some people just solely put it on with the fingers. One guy's video I watched put it on, and while it was still wet he rubbed it down, and he still had a fantastic finish. So I don't think, if you put it on evenly, this stuff is very forgiving. Nothing like paint or nothing like varnish. Much more forgiving. An idiot like me can do it. So it's a bit of inspiration, hopefully, for somebody to have a go if they've got a gun what's a bit damaged. You know, over the years they get knocked about, don't they? Some people don't look after the stuff that well, or they fall off a gun rack or something, end up with scratches and what have you. So it's to be expected. It's hard work to look after a piece of wood for many years. I don't know the age of this gun, but hopefully when this is done it will look respectable and far superior to what it did when I got it. And also I'm lucky that the metalwork is all in very good condition. There's no scratches on that. It's very good. And then I've just got to sort out the spring. I've just looked online, and until I take the gun to pieces, I don't know what size outside diameter, what length, how many coils. I know nothing about the spring internally in the gun. So when this stock is finished, that's the next job. Take the spring out, because it's only doing when I put it through the crony, it only actually registered 7 foot-pounds of power, and it should be somewhere near the 12. So I plan to rectify that. Still got loads left here. I'm going to end up throwing some of this away, I think, is what's likely going to happen. So as long as I get it on smooth, don't get any runs, get it on all even and level, hopefully. That's the plan. My plans don't always work. This side's a bit thin at the top. It's starting to look a bit shiny, but I think that's because the white spirit tends to make things look very shiny, and then of course when it's soaked in it don't look so clever, it looks more matte. I know you can't see the bit I'm doing, but I will twist it round in a moment. I'm doing this because the lighting's better this way. Ooh, it's got a bit of a pong to it, this white spirit has. I think we're slowly getting somewhere anyway, by the look of it. Hopefully. Now on the checkering of this gun, I didn't actually rub the checkering down, I went to the edge. Looking back, maybe I should have got a wire brush, maybe. I wasn't sure how to approach that. Try and put plenty on this piece, because this is a piece what gets handled the most when you're holding the gun. So I'll try and concentrate on building this area up. Yeah. Then, as I say, when this is dry tomorrow, I'll buff it all up, or rub it down, or whatever you do with. I haven't had much experience with wire wool, 0 grade or 00 grade. I think it will just take the shine off and hopefully smooth out any parts that are a bit rough. But before I did this today, it did feel very smooth, I must admit. And then I might even get some, when I've decided I've finished it, give it the last coat, I'll probably get some paintwork, T-cut or something very similar, just to get the minute imperfections. But got no air bubbles in it anyway, that's one good thing. It had it was riddled with air bubbles, the original varnish was. I don't know how they did it, whether it was dipped or done with a brush, but it was on that thick, it was unbelievable. That's got an even, fairly even finish to it. Well, it appears to have in this light. Looks nice and shiny at the moment. Well, I've managed to use everything what was in the my little glass dish anyway. So this piece here doesn't look as right, I think you can almost call that. We can almost call that job complete for today. Put a screw in the my woodwork on my ceiling, and then got some thick wire and hung it. I decided that was the best way to work with it. I've seen other people make a piece of wood what fits in there and hold it with that, which is equally as good, whatever works for you. Alright, we'll call that a day. Then on part 3, my next video, I will buff it with some wire wool, and then I will put the true oil on neat with no white spirit. So thanks everybody for looking so far. I think it's coming on slow but sure, and hopefully I'll make a good job of it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Take care.